the virus. They're working hard. Looks like by April, in theory, when it gets a little warmer, it miraculously goes away. I hope that's true. We do have a plan, and we think it's going to be handled very well. We've already handled it very well. I've always known this is a pandemic. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic. I think where these people are flying, it's safe to fly, and large portions of the world are very safe to fly. Every one of these doctors said, "How do you know so much about this?" Maybe I have a natural ability. Maybe I should have done that instead of running for president. Then I see the disinfectant, where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or? We have done an incredible job. We're going to continue. It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
This man has now declared himself the most hardworking president in US history. So let me begin by showing you some numbers that reveal how hard Donald Trump works and how it's paying off. This is the state of America as of 27th April. 9,65,000 active cases, 965,000. 54,000 deaths and counting. 26 million jobs lost in 5 weeks, an unemployment rate of 4.4%, and the US economy expected to shrink by 34%. I can add more figures, but you get the point. America is in dire straits, and things could get worse. But the US president is working hard, so hard that he has the time to talk about everything but the crisis at hand. We hate to break it to him, but his strategy has misfired by miles. More Americans are dying due to this virus than they did in the Vietnam War. By the end of this week, that number will be higher. What is the American president's concern? You may wonder, I'll tell you. The inability to get personal time, because he's working too hard, he says. According to Donald Trump, he works from early morning until late at night. He hasn't left the White House in many months. He's taking care of trade deals and military rebuilding, and he's not eating hamburgers in his bedroom. This does sound like a very tough life. And he's disappointed to read a quote-unquote phony story about his work. Disappointed. Let's disappoint him more. And say this: tweeting does not count as work. A press conference might, but the ones he holds help no one, not even himself. Donald Trump has turned White House press briefings into hour-long sessions of presidential tantrums. Americans are dying, and the US president is not giving out any information. Forget expressing regret. Instead, he's settling scores with the media and peddling fake coronavirus cures. When confronted, Donald Trump says that he often tends to be sarcastic. Listen to this outrageous clarification.
Now, I was asking a question sarcastically to reporters like you, just to see what would happen. Now, disinfectant for doing this, maybe on the hands, would work. Did you hear about this yesterday? But I was asking a very sarcastic question to the reporters in the room about disinfectant on the inside. But it does kill it, and it would kill it on the hands, and that would make things much better. That was done in the form of a sarcastic question to the reporters.
A sarcastic question, he says. Guess what? A pandemic is not the time to be sarcastic. A presidential press conference is no place to be sarcastic. And nobody, not a single person, would expect their president to be sarcastic in the face of death. Here's what Donald Trump's sarcasm has led to. The number of calls to poison control centers in the US have increased because some Americans decided to listen to the president's advice. According to New York's National Public Radio, 30 cases of poisoning were reported within 18 hours of President Trump's statement. All of them were due to exposures to household cleaners, disinfectant. What again do they say about sarcasm? It kills. In this case, it may just. So who must take responsibility if there are any deaths due to disinfectant poisoning in the US? I can think of one man. The question is, will he? The answer is no. Not only will he not take responsibility, he will also not take questions. Donald Trump has apparently cancelled all White House briefings henceforth. Like always, he made the announcement through a tweet. Trump said, and I'm quoting, "What is the purpose of having White House news conferences when the lamestream media asks nothing but hostile questions? They get record ratings and the American people get nothing but fake news. Not worth the time and effort," unquote. Not worth the time, says the president. I have to agree. Trump's press conferences were always praise conferences, and the praise was directed mostly to himself. He was using them for election canvassing. Most questions about the pandemic were not being answered. Instead, there were videos praising his so-called great response. Reporters were lambasted for asking tough questions, and conspiracy theories about political opponents were being pushed. Competence, honesty, and judgment. The US president seems to have failed on all three counts, and Americans are paying the price for this failure. The United States is on a trajectory to suffer more sickness, more deaths, and more economic harm. Its story is worse than any other developed nation right now, but the president is busy tweeting, asking people to use common sense. For once, they should listen to him.